And we are live. My name's JP Berg, and this is another episode of Politics with Peyman and JP. Today we will be discussing Stephen Guilbault to resign, um, Smith and referendum, and Iran's on again, off again ceasefire. So with that said, I will throw it right over to my co-host Peyman Ascari to start us off. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing pretty good. I guess we should be happy that Guilbault is resigning because I hate all these people that deindustrialized our country with this, this lie that we now know is a lie that was pushed on the public, which is man-made catastrophic climate change. It's a little shocking because I thought Guilbault had already been kicked out. I guess he stepped down as a minister, but he didn't leave. Must have been very difficult for him not to have that extra like 100 grand pocket change and access to people's taxpayer money. But I digress. Every win is a win.
It's pretty telling though. Like Stephen Guilbault is not willing to attempt the hypocrisy which the whole Carney government is doing. He's just like, he sold the climate grift for so long. That was such a part of his persona. He was an activist prior to entering politics, and he's not willing to be the hypocrite that is required of him presently. So as much as I disagree with him, at least he seemingly has integrity. I think most of it's performative, but the rest of them are just going to flip on a dime and 180 and build a bunch of data centers.
Yeah, I guess you are right that he's a true believer. No amount of facts and logic and testimony and admissions will change his mind. I was watching a CTV clip, and that's it's CTV, so I only watched the first 30 seconds. But you got this like bleach blonde supermodel woman with an inch of makeup on, and she comes out and she speaks in like regal manner, in a parliamentary manner, and I'm thinking nobody in the real world talks like this. And 30 seconds, nothing was shared. When you and we talk, we share wisdom. We tie it to 1913, the Federal Reserve. We're trying to say, this is what's going on. She's just giving play by play. Oh, is that Guilbault? We see Guilbault coming down. He's leaving. He's left the building. And this is why we have an uninformed electorate.
100%. It's just people are tired of that model. And the establishment is so oblivious. They just continue to give us that model. It's fake. It's contrived. It's dead. And people hunger for something authentic, real conversations. They don't care if they're live and people stumble or don't use proper grammar at all times. They just want something that's authentic. People real that are trying to assess all of the chaos that we're seeing today and provide them with something that they can understand. Provide them with some framings for this that make sense. And that's why you're seeing a lot of people getting popular. There was a organic market emerging of alternative voices on X, but then it's seemingly something happened with the algorithm. Everyone's suppressed, and we have a lot of these influencers that are just as fake as the mainstream.
So before we go on a Mario Zelaya bashing session, let me realign it, bring it back to what we're actually talking about. We got Guilbault. He's walking into the climate change sunset. You had Chrystia Freeland. She got off just scot-free, even though she froze a whole bunch of bank accounts. David Lametti, who advised the prime minister to invoke the Emergency Act illegally. He's got a cushy job somewhere in a law firm. You had Marco Mendicino, who lied about the RCMP, saying, put words in the RCMP's mouth and basically lied in Parliament. He's fine. He's not in jail. A whole swath of the Trudeau cabinet is still there. And I don't know how much longer they think they can do this, where they disrespect the public, assuming that the public just will never rise up.
And I think that's it. Like, you kind of answered it at the end there. It's like, we won't, seemingly. And every time they get away with some of the blatant scandals, like, look at the Trudeau years. There was like 10 notable scandals, no accountability. The people have gotten nothing for this. We just move on. And even with the illegal invocation of the Emergencies Act, there was 2 courts in Canada that deemed that illegal. We didn't even get an apology. So there's no accountability, and it's not just demoralizing the people, it's emboldening these corrupt politicians who at this point must be shocked that they're still getting away with it.
Yeah, Helen Grusa's attorney, Bathsheba, she's told me, she goes, it's great that we got this ruling that says, what the government did is wrong, but you need to have accountability. The Supreme Court's not just there to say, it would be like a referee in a soccer match saying, yeah, what you did was wrong without giving a red card. If there's no red card, if there's no punishment, then there's no need for a Supreme Court. We don't need the Supreme Court just to say that we were violated. We need them to hold the government accountable.
Yeah, when there's no reprimand, there's no disincentive to not just continue doing the same. And there was no reprimand. There's no accountability for the people. I did an interview with Bathsheba Vandenberg as well, and she was, I believe she said, and I quote, that it's egregious. And I think that's a perfect word to describe it. But what's not egregious, what's just kind of sad, is that we're still not doing anything. Like there's nothing that seems to get the people on one page together to actually demand some change. And again, I can only attribute it to the division. Like we're just so divided and balkanized. It's looking bleak, man.
I'm going to cite the Reclaim Britain party leader again. He's a British bloke, and he used a word I haven't heard in a while. He goes, we don't need more belly aching. We don't need people to tell us what's wrong. We are looking for citizens that are willing to help us. And what he's saying is, we don't just need your money. Like, you need to get involved. If you want to make change, we need the citizenry to get involved. And that's kind of where Canada is right now. I like our class, your age, my age, we're just exhausted. We've done this for 6 years. But the people that were asleep the last 6 years, they need to now get involved. We have to hand the baton off to them.
Well, yeah. You would think at this point that we would have more people involved, and it's not even relative to our age demographic. Like, I know a ton of people that are my age that they're not paying attention. They're just trying to continue their lives as if nothing's going on. And it requires like the level of oblivious for these people. Like it's hard to fathom. It's like you're walking around living your morning routine in a house that's on fire, with no concern of the future. And that's what I really see with these people. But yeah, it's definitely, I agree with that. I believe his name is Rupert Lowe. Is that right?
Probably, but my memory.
Yeah, I'm foggy on it too. That's why I asked. He's the alternative to the other third party. That's how awake they are in the UK. They have like multiple non-establishment populist parties that are doing good. They're more in competition with each other now. And in Canada, like the vast majority of people that are awake are supporting Pierre Poilievre. It's really wild. Like we're amongst the most heavily propagandized in all of the Western countries.
I think our audience is familiar enough with us to know that we just can't stay on topic. So let's go down this rabbit hole. The way that Canada gets out of this mess is we need a conservative government. And then the conservative government gets in, they don't really do anything that different. And then the people will see, yes, it's time for an alternative party. As it stands, like they don't see that in the People's Party. But the problem is, by that time, like we're talking another 4 to 8 years of Liberal government, another 4 to 8 years of conservative government. That's 8 to 16 years. Man, we're toast by then. we're in a very bad position.
Yeah, they need to have their Boris Johnson moment, where I used UK as the example. Like the UK elected their conservative party, and Boris Johnson being the leader, and he was the same warmongering, mass migration type of a leader that they had prior to that. And that we all get. It's like it doesn't matter who we put. These are seemingly just roles. They're roles more than jobs, right? There's no real power there at all.
Yeah, man, I could talk about Boris Johnson for like an hour, but we're almost at the 10-minute mark. Let's go to the next one.
Yes, sir. Danielle Smith and referendum. You start us off on that, Peyman. I think you have a video queued up.
Yeah, why don't we just play the video first? Let me bring this puppy up. It's a minute 17 seconds, folks. Bear with us.
As Western premiers met Tuesday, a show of support for Canada's World Cup team, national unity clearly on the minds of those here.
Tell Premier Smith she looks great in the Team Canada jersey.
But there are cracks. That unity under pressure as the question of Alberta separatism looms over the annual meeting. Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew publicly sparring with Alberta Premier Danielle Smith over treaty rights. This after an Alberta justice quashed a pro-separatism petition because the province failed to consult with First Nations.
The issue, I think, in the court is whether that duty to consult should apply to citizen-initiated petitions. And that's where I think that the court erred in judgment.
I think we know that is not correct, a lot of what you just said there, Premier Smith. It is not up to the petition gatherers to fulfill the duty to consult. It is up to you as the Alberta government to fulfill the duty to consult. Now is the time to work together. Why don't we hold off on this referendum talk for a year or two and see if we get these pipelines under construction?
I disagree profoundly with Premier Smith's referendum. I think it is a huge mistake. And Premier Smith disagrees with me profoundly about issues related to a pipeline to the North Coast and the North Coast tanker ban.
Should I go?
Yeah, you go ahead.
So David Eby looks like he's made completely of straw, or I don't know, Jello. He's completely spineless. So we are on topic one. We talked about how Guilbault he's resigned because this whole climate grift has been exposed. It's on the way out. So what's the next frontier? I keep saying it's racial division. You know, enter stage right, Wab Kinew. So they're trying to position him as the the next great Obama, I guess, of the North. And I know a couple of other things I'd like to point. They did send Obama and George Soros up to talk to Mark Carney. We might not agree with everything that Trump's doing, but these globalists are still trying to thwart whatever Trump is doing. They're a thorn in his side, and I think this is an extension of that. I'll say one other thing, and I'll shut up. This tactic is very, very clever. They've hit on something that they can hammer Danielle Smith with, the duty to consult, but which ordinary people like you and I, we can't defend that. What are we going to do? We're going to go do massive research on this concept of duty to consult. Is it an act? Is it a judicial ruling? By that time, you've already lost. Like their whole argument, their whole point is to exhaust you and I.
It's just funny how they use that just age-old strategy of divide and conquer. And it's just with the natives or First Nations in Canada, it's phenomenal. Like that's what you're seeing with the UNDRIP stuff and the DERPA stuff. That's how they're going to take the wind out of the separatist movement in Alberta. And it what does it do? It foments this racial divide more, which I mean, like you could feel it. You could feel how angry and upset and confused everyone is. Just looking at any of the social media platforms, like people that would have had the common sense or I'll say the class to not say some like just disgusting racially derogatory things online now are doing it publicly, and they're getting, likes for it. Like they're being emboldened in this behavior. And I mean, it's funny or whatever, but it's like, it's so dangerous. Like Canada's thoroughly balkanized. If the racial rhetoric continues in this way, like we could see civil strife or even something far uglier, like a civil war. Like we have to handle all of this very delicately. And I hate seeing the racialism fomented to that. As for that performance on the stage with the premiers, like does anyone else get WWE vibes? Like, does it not seem like a really poor drama club or something? Like I don't believe it's real.
You got Scott Moe in the corner. Like if you quizzed most Canadians, be like, can you tell me how many people were up there? They'd probably all say 3 premiers because Scott Moe is just a complete loser. That's the premier of Saskatchewan, by the way. It was, I agree with you. It was completely fake and gay. The only one that kind of comes across as authentic is Danielle Smith because she's a good actor because she used to do radio. But it just sickens me what they're doing with the First Nations. They're encouraging, they're partnering, they're conspiring with them to defraud and disenfranchise, rob the Canadian people so that the Canadian people attack the First Nations, and you got your race war right there.
Yeah, 100%. And problem, reaction, solution. Again, like once that gets really bad, they'll have no problem passing all of their bills that they want to pass. Like it's I get the impression we're playing right into their hands. with this. I think the most important aspects of this is above the government. I think it's monetary reform. And I know I keep hammering that point home, but like that's something we all share in common. The biggest problem right now is this banking oligarchy that is at this point, I believe, trying to push our, not just like cause strife within our nations domestically, but push all of our nations into some kind of a global conflict.
Who's the gentleman in charge of APP? Daniel, or is it Rath? What's his name?
Jeffrey Rath, I think.
Jeffrey Rath. He'll never go with your recommendation for monetary policy. Neither will the rest of the Alberta separatists, because they won't even tackle the social issues, like the cultural issues, which are, in my opinion, downstream from the monetary issues. Their view is it's just you can't sell it to the people, so let's just focus on one thing. They're saying economic prosperity or whatever it is. Like you and I, what we believe, I think they either don't know, or they're like, you guys, you can't sell it to the average Joe.
I don't think a lot of people are there yet, man. And I think the average Joe are the people that are going to fuel this when they understand that there are viable alternatives. Like it doesn't have to be this false dichotomy of socialism or this perversion of capitalism is not real. There's a lot in within this framing that would work far better. The biggest thing is the amount of debt. Like this doesn't work. So, I mean, we're constantly having to flood it with debt. Everyone is in debt. Household debt is at all-time highs. Our national deficits are they're insane. Something has to come from this. But I think when people start to see past the left-right divide, and that's becoming fairly evident now, when people start to see past the performative nature of modern politics, it's bread and circuses. Even in America, I believe it's bread and circuses. There's powerful external forces that are guiding these puppets. And I think that's when we'll see change. We're still, the rabbit hole keeps going deeper, and people have to become more informed. And unfortunately, we're up against it because these algorithms prefer the stuff that divides us, not the stuff that's trying to unify people.
All right, let's go back to the referendum, the duty to consult. So I'm not part of this whole referendum movement, but it'll be interesting to see in the next few days, weeks, whether the movement can get its act together and put together. You need a Bruce Party approach. Like they need to get Bruce Party in there. Bruce Party says, listen, this is what they're talking about, the duty to consult. This is what you should be talking about, the kind of world we want to live in. Like if you want to fight back, you have to hit above the target. Like you can't, if you cannot step into the arena that these guys set up, which is duty to consult. It's a trap. And once you set off that trap, you're not going to win.
And honestly, in my estimation, and I hate to be a black pill about it, but if they somehow could get past this, they have 10 other contingency plans to implement right away. They're going to throw the kitchen sink at this because it's pretty much it's the end, right? Like this if Alberta actually left, like the whole Dominion of Canada doesn't really make sense anymore. It doesn't really work anymore the way it works presently. So, I mean, they will be nothing short of absolutely desperate to prevent this. So,
yeah, it's existential for them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have high hopes because I've already shared my views on Mr. Rath. Nothing personal, but I don't think he's qualified for this. You at the very least need somebody behind him, like a Bruce Party, to give strategic advice. But and it's a very decentralized movement. They've walked into a trap, as you mentioned. They're going to throw the kitchen sink at these people, and they have deep motherfucking pockets. I mean, they rolled out Wob Canoe. they onboarded Wob Canoe. George Soros and Obama went to meet with Carney. They were talking about Alberta.
Yeah, these are global power structures, right? And they had a plan, and it's been interrupted. It's definitely been interrupted. There's been some bumps along the way, but you could see it if you just look at all these UN agendas that are trying to expropriate land, and they're doing the same thing in all of the Commonwealth countries, New Zealand and specifically Australia with their Aboriginal population there. They're implementing the exact same divisive policies, and it's having the exact same effect. People can't see past that, so they truly look to each other. and then they start becoming racially tribalistic, and that just further convolutes the ecosystem to actually see the problem. It's like they're very successfully playing us all off against one another.
Again, man, I agree with you, but we have to move on.
Yes, we actually do have to move on to our third topic. So topic 3, Iran's on-again, off-again ceasefire. What do you make of the latest coming out of this region?
I was talking to my father yesterday, and he's all giddy. He's like, "Did you hear the good news? There's they made peace." And I'm like, I vaguely knew what he was talking about, and I was like, "Dad, it's an MOU. This is not going to last very long." And it didn't.
Yeah, it's very evident that there's different camps in this Trump administration, some that very much want this conflict to continue and escalate, and others that want to de-escalate it and cut our losses and kind of try to save face and move on. And it's this constant back and forth. That's why I think it is an on again, off again ceasefire. And seemingly Israel continues to strike southern Lebanon. They're saying like they're just going to do that. That shouldn't be part of this negotiation. It's like, well, it is though. I watched a clip with Ben Gvir. I think he's their defense minister, and he was saying, they were asking him, "Are you concerned about this peace process?" And he said, "Netanyahu won't let Trump sign any peace deal." Like, he just said it, and like everyone was sharing, big, huge American accounts like Alex Jones were sharing this video. Now he's speaking in Hebrew and it's subtitled, so I should qualify. I'm not entirely positive he did say that, but that's what's being reported. And I mean, it's like the way they just pumped, like AIPAC pumped so much money into this Massey race. It's like the Israeli influence over American politics is totally masks off now. It's just they're saying it out loud.
Yeah, like during the Truman administration, General MacArthur railroaded Truman's attempts at peace with China, and Truman fired MacArthur. And MacArthur at the time was like the most popular person on the planet for the Americans, and he was set to be the next American president, and it caused a whole problem. But now the neocons are openly defying Donald Trump's attempts to get the hell out of Iran. And I don't make a distinction between the neocons, the military, and Israel. Like, they're just all the same.
Yeah, that's very clear at this point. Yeah, the MacArthur thing was a good comparison. He was ready to go right up into China and just wipe them out, and he wanted to, and he wasn't listening to Truman. So they pulled him out. He had a big ticker tape parade in New York, and that was him. End of the career. But again, there's I sound like a broken record, but there's larger power dynamics at play here. And this is what people can't seemingly see. I don't know how you could miss it at this point. But yeah, it's terrible, man. It just keeps getting worse at the exact same time. And this is a little off topic, but that's kind of our thing. The Russia-Ukraine conflict is heating up. So it's like looking at these two fronts, like it's not looking good, really.
You name dropped Boris Johnson. I was going to say Yeltsin. He's the reason that we're in this mess. If you remember, Zelensky was happy to negotiate a peace, and then Johnson convinces him not to. And then Macron calls up Putin and he says, "Hey, listen, we want peace. We'll give you peace, but we can't do it at a barrel of a gun. So why don't you just pull back, and then we'll settle this out." They pull back, and then NATO gets involved, drops like 30,000 mercenaries, pumps in billions of dollars, and now this war is going on. It's a meat grinder. You got hundreds of thousands or millions of dead Ukrainians, and I think Zelensky is haunted by this, and I don't think he'll ever get into heaven.
Oh, that's for sure. There's a lot of people that say that he can't stop this now because he goes down, and there's a lot of people that make a comparison with Netanyahu. If Netanyahu was to make peace now, then he would be tried in the court in Israel for corruption and for all of the war crimes or whatever. There's people that want to prosecute both of these individuals. So they're very much incentivized to keep this whole thing going. But yeah, man, I don't know what's going to happen. I sincerely pray somehow that cooler minds prevail and the adults in the room get to say at the end of the day. But it just seems like even when they get something on the table and it's looking good, it's sabotaged. And that's what I believe it is. It's sabotage, and then they just move it along. It's not in anyone's benefit, even Israel, I believe, to continue this war. It's just in this elite class. It's on their agenda. They want to push us into war right now, and it looks like they're going to get it. It really does.
Mercouris always says the neocons have no reverse gear, so they are intent. They're hellbound. They're intent on going into Iran, and that nothing will change their mind. Certainly not reason, not reality. They're just, we have to take Iran out. I think they actually believe their own lies. Like Iran is the greatest threat to peace. They're 2 weeks away from a nuke. If they get a nuke, they will use it against America.
Yeah, I think it's I think they're very much coerced into taking these stances. I even think a lot of this political class, they know the detriment. They know what they're doing on some level. How could you not feel guilty if you were like, an elected representative of people, and then you were listening to the people above you and you were bringing them into a place that's potentially dangerous? Like, you would have some guilt associated with that. But I just think these situations are precipitated by larger forces, and they know exactly what they're doing. I believe they've done this in the past. I think when you really look at World War I and World War II and some of the financial interests that were behind these conflicts, you start to see the broader picture. All wars are bankers' wars. It's not just some kind of cool meme that's like anti-government. I mean, there's some truth to that, and that's where I'm leaning. Like, all of my research has indicated this. So, I mean, I think they're desperate to push this farther, and time will tell if they're successful or not.
Yeah, I mean, monetary policy, that's another 1 hour conversation, but wars are profitable. And if you have a Ponzi scheme and you need to print money to keep the whole system going, I don't understand why they can't print money for other things, like print money to buy land for people. Maybe you run out of land, print money for education, print money for hospitals, but they have to do it through war. I don't know, because if there's some secret sauce in war.
Well, it's like extractive finance too, right? They want to expand their territory. It's China and Iran are kind of their big domains presently. So if they get Iran, I think then China's in a whole different world. And if we're going off of that framing that this is to disempower or disenfranchise China geopolitically, then it would make sense why this banking oligarchy would want to take Iran. And then there's the greater Israel thing going on around it. Like, they say it's because of Hezbollah that they're striking southern Lebanon, but they're doing what they did to Gaza. They're flattening it. They're going back and demolishing the buildings. It's like, it's just cleansing the area, seemingly for construction of some kind.
Yeah, it's I get the argument that you take over Iran, and then the banks, the resources go to the clients, the banks, and then the banks can give a loan to that client, and the client, strips the resources and gives a percentage of that back to the bank. All I'm saying is, if everything is fake and gay, if it's all fiat based, if you don't really need all those excess resources anyway, why don't you just just give loans and then the bank buys the products? I'm having an existential crisis at the moment.
Well, no, the only way it makes sense, it's not for money, it's just for control. They just want the last parts of the world to be under their globalist system. See, the thing about tyrants is they don't just feel entitled to subjugate people, they feel that it's for your own good. That's the true pernicious quality of it. In their minds, they're probably, neo-Malthusian types, and they think there needs to be way less of us. Like, there's a lot of them that probably sleep like babies at night because they're fighting us for our own good. They know better than us how to organize society, and this will be a superior societal framing. And that's probably how they're doing it. That's how they sleep. That's how they justify or rationalize it to themselves when they all get together in their meetings. Like, we're just the dumb masses, and they have to help us out and put us under this technocratic control grid for our own good.
Yeah, it's not a world I want to live in. Comments?
Yeah, let's hit some comments up.
All right, let's go from the top. Johnny Tightlips, I give him no credit. If he can't climate grift, he is nothing. Go climb the CN Tower again, grifter. Yeah, these guys just rubbed me the wrong way. I am not on board with this climate grift. I'm not on board on the right-wing war stuff either. But the climate grift, I was just like, fuck, this is so obviously a lie. Leave me the F alone.
Yeah, I don't expect anything from Mr. Guilbault. I don't even know how to say his name. But yeah, it's like the rats are scurrying from the ship too. Make no mistake, he was implicated in some massive fraud, funneling money into some company that he had owned. These people are just getting away with it. I think they committed some just next level fraud on the Canadian people. And I think they're allowed to just resign and go on with their lives. Like, I'd love to know his net worth pre getting into politics and post. I'd just like to see those numbers, because I bet you it's quite astounding how much more he made than his salary.
You bring up a good point before moving on. These people are never held accountable. It's almost like they sit them down when they come in and say, listen, you toe the line. You can do anything you want. Don't worry about it. As long as you don't cross us, we own the judges. We own the judiciary. You're untouchable. They probably have like T-shirts underneath their shirts that says the untouchables.
That's kind of what I was indicating. Like, these people have to be so emboldened at this point that they just think they can get away with anything. And I pray that one day they get the shock of their lives when Canadians stand up and say, we've had enough. Because this is an accumulative effect. It happens incrementally. It's like people they're being more demoralized. And then it gets to a point where they just feel they have no recourse or nothing left to lose. And then they act. And it's never in a civil regard at that point. So
just an angry mob of Canadians beating Guilbault to death. What a glorious thing. Clown World, thank you for reposting the stream. Johnny Tightlips, too many have been conditioned to not trust their own eyes and ears, and that the technocrats know best, hence no uprising. Yes, we saw this during COVID. JP?
Yeah, it's people put the government in this special category where they feel like they truly have faith in the government and their experts, and that even after all of the COVID misplays, they still have their faith there. They can't consider the alternative. So you see that cognitive dissonance. But I truly believe that these people are more and more every day starting to lean the other way. They have to be personally skeptical at this point. There's some, sure, that won't wake up, but I still think there's hope.
Well, reality is hitting them in the face like a freaking frying pan. Even the most elbows up, brain dead liberal has to see this now.
Yeah, your ideals will go out the window pretty quick when it comes to necessity. Like when things get that bad, it necessitates them, questioning their framing. And I think people are going to have a hard realization coming very soon.
Let's see what Squirrel Nuts has to say. Lie, cheat, and steal. The liberals are for me. Lol, not. I'm no Conservative Party fanboy, but the liberals have been out front when it comes to this corruption. This is unheard of. Like, you remember the Trudeau administration, people just stopped counting how many, after like 7 scandals, they stopped counting.
Yeah, it was next level for sure. But I believe it's a uniparty, and the Conservatives were playing the role of the opposition at that point. But I mean, if they were in power, it would have been the same thing on their end. But yeah, it's definitely worthy to note. But people still will vote for them. This is even people that if they know some of these scandals and they're skeptical on them because they can't vote for the other team. Like that's this brand recognition in Canada. There's no thought, there's no critical thought that goes into it. Maybe they were raised in a household that voted that way, and they just continue it if they vote at all.
Yeah, that generational voting pattern, that's really alarming, and it's a real thing. Like, I've met people who say, like, "My grandfather voted conservative, so I'm gonna vote conservative." It's like, "Good luck with that, bro."
Yeah. Well, it just says like right away, like I'm not going to critically analyze any of the legislation. I'm not going to do my diligence in learning about some of these issues and doing some research. And that's most people. Like it's hard to be a big fan of democracy living in our world right now. And for people to call this capitalism, this crony capitalism would be super polite. It's so far past that now. It's more resembling fascism.
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. Clown World, yes, Rupert Lowe, and it's Restore Britain. That's when we were talking about the Restore Britain thing. I'm starting to really like this guy. Now, I haven't followed this guy. This isn't an endorsement. If it turns out that he like molested 3 children, please don't come after me. I'm talking about some of the policies that he's pushing. I really like that he supports subsidiarity, decentralized government, and he's asking for the British people to get involved and help his campaign, not just donate to it.
Yeah. All I hear is good things about him. Again, I hope people can realize, because it's not just a politician that's going to be the answer. Like I'd like to see people start to have the conversations about our monetary system and how it's working and some of its deficiencies, because I think everything is downstream of culture, not merely politics. And if we could vote for the bankers, if we could vote on banking policy, we would have something approaching democracy. But until we have that ability, this is not democracy. There's a superstructure above the government, and they are the people that are really implementing this. And there's been a public-private partnership, and they're trying to push us into world war and domestic strife and chaos. Like, this is a reality. And I know that sounds like a major black pill, and there's a lot of people that could dismiss that and say I'm paranoid or something. But as easily as they could endeavor to dismiss that, I truly believe it. And I think you could logically substantiate it circumstantially if you're willing to see past the spin.
We got another comment from Squirrel Nuts. So there is an international hockey tournament happening in Switzerland right now. Did they meet up to put on hockey jerseys? Is that what it was? I wasn't.
Yeah, there was a Team Canada jersey. So I think they just had an opportune moment to put Danielle on blast, knowing that her constituency, there's a large percentage of them that will hate the thought of that. But they got her. Yeah, look, we're all Team Canada T-shirts or something, it looked like.
Man,
but it's
she must be
so lame, man.
She must be under such tremendous pressure because she's a federalist. She wants to stay. She doesn't really support the referendum, but her base supports the referendum. And if they do a leadership review, the province is lost forever. The NDP will get back in. But if they don't do a leadership review, the province is still lost.
Yeah, it's not looking like there's a lot of good trajectories for not just Alberta, but the whole country. They have a stranglehold on it. Our system is really, it's been subverted, for lack of a better term. And the people have been disenfranchised politically. And we're reacting. And until we truly realize that on some level and form groups, form associations, and actually start to push back in a meaningful regard, the only way we can, with protests, with activism, with informing each other, with organizing, I think we're doomed. I think that's the only real answer at this point.
Good answer. Squirrel Nuts. Just pushing a sport that no one plays here. Just like everything we don't care about, they push onto us relentlessly. Yeah, it didn't even occur to me that was for. I thought maybe there's another Olympic game. I don't watch sports anymore. Politics is my sport.
Yeah, me too. I'm not a sport guy. I think the tribalism of sports kind of can keep people easier and more malleable, right? That's the bread and circuses, right? Like their sports team is playing, and they're going to get passionate and angry and upset about the game. Meanwhile, like, our ruling class is running roughshod over the population, like just changing our rights and freedoms, and they're fixated on sports. I think you're almost, you can make a case that you're being proactively irresponsible by paying so much attention to sports right now.
This is another bumper sticker. You're full of those. Proactively irresponsible. I love it.
Negligent.
Squirrel Nuts said, good leadership calls for peace and love, not continuous conflict and lies. Yeah, I can't disagree with that. Conflict and lies gets you reelected, though. If you call for peace and love, people will be like, boo, get off the stage.
It seems so unreasonable now that we have gone so far. The greed is normalized, the scarcity, the massive inequity in society. It's just normalized. We see homeless people walking all around. We're all decent people, at least we try to be, but we can have no problem walking by like old homeless people and not, I know we can't necessarily bring them into our homes, but we should be enraged by that. The fact that we're not anymore says a lot about how far we've drifted. But love and compassion and morality is something that needs to return to every aspect of life, but especially public life. We know, like, this is not right. The directions we're going is not right. We all know this. There's a natural law that's within us, and we know, like, morally when things are wrong, we get the sense of it. But we've just gotten to the point where we're so used to just being willfully blind to all of these problems that we're getting cold as a result.
What else do we got? Funny, we have Canada talking Alberta. We have Canada talking Alberta. I don't know. Can you understand what he means?
Just a comment, I would say, just being silly in the chat.
We don't want a leader until it's time. Anthill, Islam wars. I don't know. Every country needs to quit with the foreign influence and take back sovereignty. Right, but in the US, like, they have the concept of lobbying, so corporations have taken over. In Canada, I don't know how they do it because we don't have a pay-to-play system, but they've taken over the political parties.
Yeah, it's I would say by any means necessary. And I think the whole system, it's that systemically corrupted, and the people in it that are still existing in this climate, they pay to play. They get in there and they do things that they're told really well. And if they're unscrupulous about it, if they don't care, if they're willing to go along with these agendas, they get promoted within this system. I think that happens within our judiciary. I think that happens just with MPs, with getting on committees. If you go in there and you're a hardliner on representing what your constituency puts you in there for, they're going to get rid of you. If you're not willing to get whipped on these party lines and you're like, no, well, my constituents want me to speak to these issues, they get you out right away. So it's just by the very nature of the system, the people that are able to stay along and have a career as a public servant, which it shouldn't never be, it should be way shorter. But they'll have a career as a public servant, get a big pension. They're the people that are willing to it almost ensures the lack of morality and integrity within the system.
Squirrel Nuts is on fire today. Who directed Boris to tell Zelensky not to enter into peace? I mean, the easy answer would be Donald Trump. But if you want to know who's the ones pulling the strings, I mean, it's more profitable for the West and the financial interests to continue this war with Russia than to have peace. And BlackRock probably doesn't want to lose their interests in Ukraine.
Yeah, the big guys, the bankers, is who's directing Boris. The same people who's directing all of the leaders presently. It's the same group of people. Who's at the top of it? I bet you we wouldn't even recognize them or recognize their names. I think it's that they're that kind of. It's that indirect from them. They have so many layers of puppets that represent them. I don't even think people like Klaus Schwab or a lot of the Rothschilds are at the top of it. I think they're the people that are the fronts for it. And I think it's, who directed Boris, very likely Satan
Good answer. Clown World, I want to hear the Zelaya bashing. Yeah, I'm sure you do. I was watching the CTV interview, and I was like, holy crap. We're so focused on the alternative media shills. CTV has like perfected the art. It's just that we don't watch it anymore because I'm not retarded. But like the people that watch it, I could see how they fall for the brainwashing.
It's funny, journalism and politics, they have this way of presenting themselves in a synthetic regard. They get up there and they speak perfectly and they try to indicate that they've never done a controversial thing in their lives. This like overly polished, overly produced facade of a human being. And we just are all like, yeah, I really like him. It's like, can you guys not see how blatantly fake and disingenuous he's being right now, just speaking? Like, have you lost all of your perspective on this? And I believe we have. We're so used to that. That's the only options we get, are these guys trying to pretend they're flawless, as opposed to just getting up there and being sincere. Like, we're in a bad way. I don't have all of the easy answers, but here's what we should focus on. And like, I think that would resonate with people if these people could get a foot in the door. But again, it's so systemically corrupt that it's practically impossible. Zalea's not fun to bash neither. I don't want to bash that guy. I feel like I'm punching down, even though he's way more popular than we are. He's just a
yeah. If you go by ratings, we're definitely punching up. Yeah. It's ambush journalism though. They, like I was watching one where they brought John Rustad on, and Rustad said, we can't have this filth in our school system. They have pornography in the school curriculum. So some CBC, CTV, left-wing socialist Marxist jackass brings them on and confronts them directly. And the tactic is this: you find some technical issue with their argument. The argument was that you have pornography in the curricula. And he's like, it's not in the curricula. Well, it's in the goddamn library. It might not be in the curricula. And you cut them off and you don't let people talk for very long. So you're not in search of the truth. You're in search of discrediting operation.
Yeah, absolutely. They use these tactics too, right? They're very good at it. That's what was interesting recently, watching different journalists try to interview Tucker Carlson and use some of the tactics that he perfected over the years. Like, he calls them on it, he knows what they're doing, and he'll laugh them off. Like, and you have to be ready for that type of a rhetorical battle. You have to know what their goal is in these interviews, and you have to be able to play up to it, right? And at the same time, you don't want to get overly aggressive. It's quite the dance to shine the light on these shills, but you can do it. You just got to watch how they operate. There is a modus operandi. They're trying to poke holes at you. They're trying to show you in a poor light, and you can't allow them. And you have to be bold and assertive enough to call them out in the process. Excuse me. No, excuse me. You know what I mean? Like, you have to, and you still got to be likable doing it. Because if you just get angry and you yell at them, they'll edit it and make you look even more like a savage, right? So it takes a certain type of mind to show well against these people.
Yeah, it's almost like sparring.
Yes, exactly.
Squirrel nuts. It's out in the open being revealed. We keep allowing them to continue. Generic comment, but I agree.
Yeah, me too.
Johnny Tightlips, can't stand it. I planned it. I'm gonna set straight this Watergate. It's sabotage. Is that a rap lyrics from a Tupac Shakur?
I think that's the Beastie Boys.
Oh, is it the Beastie Boys?
That's exactly what it is.
Planned it. I'm gonna set it straight. This is Watergate. Yeah, I don't remember Beastie Boys talking about Watergate.
I don't remember the Watergate part, but that's definitely the first and the last part.
Oh, sabotage! I remember that song.
Yes.
Squirrel nuts. At this point, the right is almost worse than the left. Yeah, they're getting there. It's hard to tell. I don't know if I want to quantify it on a live stream, JP.
I will. They make it so ludicrous that kind of has a reflexive response with the other side. So having one of these sides, putting all the focus on the most extreme, absurd, ridiculous stuff from the left, brings out the same antithesis response from the right. And that's what we're playing, and that's what's being pushed to the top. They're not putting moderate voices in, at the top of these algorithms. They're putting voices at the top of the algorithms that fuel this dialectic, because they know if we could see past the left-right scam, that it won't take us long to realize that it's the banks, and we require transformational, generational monetary reform. Carney says we require generational investment, which is basically him coming on and saying we require generational debt to the extent that it will indenture future generations long after you. But what we need is generational monetary reform and get some of the debt out of there and issue money at a national level with as little interest as possible, just to facilitate banking costs, bring some power and morality back to our economic system, bring some power back to the people.
The problem is it's an exercise in cat herding. So you're having to go out there, educate the people, convince them to not, have a beer and not have a backyard barbecue, but instead sit down and read like a book. That's hard enough on its own. And if you do manage to somehow succeed with that, then you get another catastrophic event like 9/11 or something that just sends people into a frenzy.
I think it's just the scarcity mindset is hard to get out of. I think we could all have barbecues and beers. I really do. A lot of people, oh, you're naive, but a lot of people that have been, it's been hyper normalized, this scarcity model, which is what our monetary system is. In fact, this scarcity mindset is what keeps the whole labor colony in motion. It's like, think of people, like you get up to go to work every day to pay your rent at the working class level. It's like that carrot in front of your nose as like a mule or something. I think we could have it a lot better, not in some Marxist way neither. Again, that's the false dichotomy you're always lumped in with. Like right away, like when I look at social credit, I know people are going to say, oh, that's socialism. It's not. Douglas, who conceptualized it, was anti-socialist. He was pro-free enterprise. He was pretty based, but he realized that the main problem, it's not richer people. It's not richer people and poorer people. That's going to happen, but it's the banks, and it's a deficiency in the way we issue debt. Like we don't, our buying power of the people doesn't match what's produced in the economy. And we fill that void with perpetual debt cycles.
You've used that phrase before, scarcity. In this context, can you explain to me what do you mean?
Well, you were saying, like, you have to explain to people specifically that they shouldn't have a beer or a backyard barbecue, that they should read a book. And I wasn't saying that. I think they should be able to have a beer and a barbecue and read a book if they want.
Oh, the reason I ask is I wanted to tie it to another thing. In the West, we've never seen scarcity in the sense that, when was the last time you went to a gas station and it didn't have gas? When was the last time you went to the supermarket, there were no watermelons? We're living in this illusion that's provided by the state. So you and we're trying to convince them to not trust the state, but they're like, yeah, but the state gives me whatever I want, whenever I want. So I love the state.
And it's like the endless growth model too. There's a lot of education that has to happen for people to actually see what our real problems are. And I think I see it myself now. So like, I'm going to sound like a broken record frequently, but I think we have to look at this system, and we have to look at some like serious reform for it. I also think the bankers know that. And I think that's why they're desperate at this point to lock us into like a central bank digital currency model. They want us to live in the 15-minute cities and eat the cricket protein powder.
I was watching Catherine Austin Fitz, and she used this phrase called pretzel speak. She goes, central bankers, they're taught to talk in pretzel speak, which is just circular logic. Like you say words, but they don't mean anything. Mm-hmm. And then nobody understands what's going on. I think that's why everybody is they're under this illusion that Mark Carney is a really good public speaker.
Yeah, lawyers do this too. Once you get technical into a field, a lot of these words have emerged, I think, with law and economics as a way to gatekeep. It sounds so complex, like quantitative easing. Some of these, like Carney's always, his favorite word is to catalyze. We're going to catalyze investment. It's like, it's just again, it serves as a function to inflate their own ego further, but it's also to keep normal people out of it. And that's the technocratic ethos. They want us all to feel like we're not informed enough to have an opinion. And we have to have an opinion, because if we forego our opinion, other people will make all of our decisions for us. So it's time to learn about some of this stuff.
We got another question from a new follower, a new viewer, Derek Stittler, or maybe I just looks new to me. They've purposely muddied the waters sufficiently that it takes immense amounts of time to vet anything now, and hopefully you either give up or lack the drive to complete the task. Yeah, it's what do you think he's talking about? Like politicians?
That's a great comment. Just the ecosystem of information. It's really hard to ascertain reliable information. A lot of people are then hesitant to say something because they don't know, they don't even know how to thoroughly vet something. And I mean, I don't think there is a process presently. At some level, you have to take something at face value and take the risk. Maybe what I do frequently is I qualify it as conjecture. Like, I'm not positive. I had no way to personally vet this, and I go from there. But yeah, it's the ecosystem of information is convoluted, and it's intentionally convoluted by bad actors that are trying to misinform and disinform everyone. So to get through that and actually find something that feels like solid or stable ground, it's a task, and a lot of people do get demoralized doing it.
The let's go over a couple of examples. Yes, they muddy the water, but people they believe in an outcome, and then they shop around for outlets, podcasters, influencers that give them a reason to reinforce their belief. And I'll give you an example. Zelensky is illegally still the president of Ukraine. He never held elections. He suspended the elections. And if you say that, the people that want to support Zelensky, they'll say, well, yeah, but in the Constitution, it allows him to do that. So you're stuck in this position where you and I, everybody knows that what Zelensky's doing is wrong. It's immoral. You can't just cancel elections. It's undemocratic. But somebody told these people that support Zelensky, well, here's a legal loophole you can do to trip up Peyman and JP.
Yeah, and most people, this is like a Nietzsche quote, I'm paraphrasing, but most people aren't searching for truth. They're searching for comfort in illusions. So people are just essentially looking to validate what they already think. They're looking to kind of bolster their own positions. So like, it's that cognitive dissonance or confirmation bias. Like, they're only seeing the things, they're oblivious to everything that proves their framing wrong or pokes holes in their framing, but they're hyper aware of anything that lends credence to their framing. So it's a massive problem. It's a psychological problem. Yeah, there's no easy answer for it.
Nietzsche, that bastard, he stole my argument. Clearly,
you made it perfect. Once you said it, that popped into my mind. Like, when you were starting at first, you essentially conveyed the same sentiment.
I'm going to sue him or his estate. No, there's other examples. They're all pertaining to Russia. Like, this guy on the left, having a discussion with him, and everything I said, he just turned around and he said that's Russian propaganda. How do you argue? How do you have a discussion with something like that?
What's your metric for determining that? Like, how do you know that's Russian propaganda? Like,
well, yeah, but I mean, I could just turn around and be like, well, what you're saying is CIA propaganda.
Yeah, and that's what it devolves into, right? Everyone's just they're gonna get down on their side and not look to like see what's really going on, and that's it. You hear the Russian boogeyman, the China boogeyman, City of London boogeyman, which somehow these analysts have separated from Israel, because I see Israel and the City of London as satellites of the power structure. I don't know how they did that, but they do it shamelessly, I might add. And they're selling their shtick, man. Like, I don't know, I'm a pretty bright guy. I've been utterly obsessed with all of these issues for the last few years. I put in 40 plus hours a week researching. I'm not sure what's going on. I have no problem saying that. Like, I mean, I'm clearly not trying to lay down that type of certitude or conviction that I'm seeing everywhere. And it just makes me wonder, like, do you guys know something I don't? Are you guys that much smarter than me? Or are you guys being short-sighted and just, attached your ego to this? Because that's what it seems with a lot of them.
I know we only got 30 seconds, but I'll give another quick example. This bombing, this act of terrorism by Ukraine against Russia, killing 22 students in a university. The West is coming out and saying, you know, we need independent observers. We don't know if this is true. We don't know. Maybe Russia did it to themselves. So they're not willing to believe anything, not even their own lying eyes.
And didn't someone come out from British secret intelligence saying that we're going to start implementing terrorist type tactics?
Yeah, that was
against Russia?
Blaze. That was the MI6 director or whatever they're called.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, we don't know what you just said about we don't know what's going on in Russia. You could say the same thing with the EU and Ukraine. So, I mean, it is, and that's war. The first casualty of war is the truth. I don't remember where that comes from, but that's an insightful quote.
We'll attribute it to Oliver Stone.
There you go. So with that said, I would like to appeal to everyone, if you could please share this. It's very advantageous for us. It's the only reach we get. And we will see you guys tomorrow morning, same place. Cheers.